Hey everyone, how you doing? This is Amon Green, Green Bay Packers all-time leading rusher, and you're watching Packers Total Access Live, your daily source for Packer content. Go Pack, go!
What's up, guys? Welcome into Packers Total Access. My name is Clayton. You can check us out on packernet.com. Find me on Twitter at Packers_access. You can also find this show in podcast form wherever you get your podcast. Just search Packer Fan Total Access. It is February 25th. We're going to have kickers kicking at the combine today, doing little workouts. We got interviews taking place. We're going to get news, notes, nuggets coming down the pike all day long. What we're going to do on this episode is kind of reset the board a little bit. We're going to jump back and talk about some of the needs. We're going to talk defensive tackle prospects and some other data that's kind of come out. Man, Twitter is on fire when it comes to this draft season. They're doing a great job of putting different analytics, looking at it from different angles at each position. So we'll focus on defensive tackle first. Then we'll go to cornerback. And then we'll reset the board at offensive line and kind of take a look at the interior offensive linemen and the offensive tackles as well, and where the Packers may fall into the fold, who they may have a shot of taking at each of their picks as well. I got Tim joining us here live from Green Bay, ready to talk some ball. Before we get into everything, if you would do that YouTube stuff for me, hit like, hit subscribe. If this is your first time tuning into PTA, welcome. Thank you for making us a part of your morning. We are not experts. We're not insiders. We're not media members. We're fans just like you, talking Packers on a daily basis. So if you're looking for that type of content, hit like, hit subscribe, click the bell icon. And like I said, make sure you go over there and find our podcast, Packer Fan Total Access, wherever you get your podcast. Tim, how you doing, big dog?
Ready to talk some ball, man. Some draft prospects. Let's do it. Got the diesel going. PTA mug 2 days in a row.
I'm telling you,
diesel up. Let's go.
I went with some kind of off blend today, man. I don't know about you guys. We use K-Cups here at the house. So Mandy's got like 75 variations of coffee in this drawer, and I'm the most boring human being on the face of the earth. Like I want my Cafe Bustelo, right? I'd like to have maybe a little Starbucks Pikes blend there. That's okay too. If I want to go a little half calf, I like Folgers half calf. Bro, she's got something. It had some Chinese or Japanese writing on it or something. I threw that in the cup this morning. I don't know, man. It's a little tangy, Tim. It's got a little something to it. There might be. I'll just leave it at that. There might be something
in there, Clayton. Little something extra.
Exactly. Emilio in the chat says Cafe Bustelo, I'm coming. That's right, sir. Cafe Bustelo is it's the good stuff, man. The good stuff. Chad Inc. said he's Black Rifle is all he drinks. Got it, man. He's a big Black Rifle coffee guy. Love it. Seth Reuter in the house. What's up, Seth? He says, good morning, Clayton and crew. Normally I listen to recordings because the dad life got me busy. Decided to catch this one live. It's always a good day when Seth's in the house. If you guys don't know Seth, he went to a Packers game with us. He actually won tickets to the Monday Night Football matchup there. I think it was Packers-Rams, if I remember correctly. We got up in the luxury box, and he won that. It was a giveaway we did here on the show. So, Seth, good to see you, buddy. Hopefully the family's doing great. William in the house, good morning to you, sir. Appreciate you swinging through. Wes Rob in here. Morning, everyone. Love the content here. Appreciate you, Wes. Thank you so much for swinging by, man. We got Don Juan in the house. All I know, Pat Coogan is the next Packers center.
Here's the guy.
So, Pat Coogan. I'm not going to put it up on the screen because we got something else queued up, but let's just talk about where we got Pat Coogan real quick since it was mentioned in the chat, and we'll dive into everything in between. Pat Coogan's a little lower on our board, which is interesting because, I like him as a prospect. Let me see if I can find him. He's jumped around a lot too, but Pat Coogan, if you guys don't know, he was the center for Indiana. And, there's other centers I've got higher than him. We've got him in the 89 spot on our board. I'd be totally okay with that at 84, Tim. I wouldn't have a problem with that at all. You got a guy that played at Notre Dame. He transferred in the NIL deal to Indiana, and all he did was anchor an offensive line that won a national championship, right? So Pat Coogan will be fine with me, man. They're somewhere around the 84 spot. 52 would be a little rich, Tim, but what do you think about Pat Coogan at 84?
Yeah, 84, that's not a reach. I think 52 would be a reach. And, certainly one of the top options. He's on our big board cheat sheet, right? So I think he's someone you have to look at. And one of the guys from Indiana that's a little on the younger side, correct? He's not quite as big of an old dog as some of his teammates were.
And there's some guys in college, Tim, my God, man, they're 73 years old, dude. They're drawing Social Security and still looking for another year of eligibility. So you can see here Pat Coogan right there on our list in the 89 spot. He was the 159th graded center in 2023. He jumped all the way from 159 to 43 in 24, and then he goes from 43 to 12th last year. I mean, that is somebody who's ascending as he's entering the league. When we put the information in early, and you guys know how we like to do this, Consensus Big Board had him at 140. PFF Big Board had him at 144. Now, he did not make Dane Brugler's early list. He did not make Daniel Jeremiah's early list. He did not make Tankathon's early list. We could probably go revisit the Tankathon number and probably have a number there. But once Dane Brugler's Beast draft guide is released, we'll definitely have a number there, as well as Daniel Jeremiah. And we'll see, hopefully our boy Pat Coogan is at the combine and performing. I know we got news that there's several players that are not going to be performing at the combine, Tim. And those guys are, so far, Ruben Bain, this pink over here in the RAS column. You probably figure out why I picked pink. But if these guys refuse to compete at the combine, I throw a little pink logo up in there. So, all right, they said, no, I don't want to compete at the combine. Now, some of it may be injury related, so definitely keep that in mind as well. Like Jordan Tyson, he chose not to go. I don't think there's any injury around these three players, but it's Ruben Bain, Fernando Mendoza, and Jordan Tyson. Now, does that ding a player where all of a sudden now we're not going to draft them, we're just going to drop them down our board? No. It's just information I like to have, Tim, to know. Yeah. They chose not to compete at the combine. And I think it's important that guys want to compete. Like we were hearing earlier, Sonny Styles. Sonny Styles was on, I think he was on with PFT Live this morning, Pro Football Talk over at NBC. And he's at the combine. They're like, why did you decide to come? And I just wanted to compete, man. I wanted to be out here with the best of the best and see how I stack up. That's the type of attitude you're looking for in the draft, right, man?
Absolutely. I give Fernando Mendoza the pass. Obviously, he's got lots of bags to pack for Las Vegas. So I'm not mad at him for not showing up to the combine. But yeah, you're right, man. It's worth noting because for a lot of these guys that are outside of the top 100 for sure. I mean, this is that last big opportunity to get in front of the league here and show what you can do. So it's important that these young players are at the combine in Indy, right?
Absolutely. And now also when you look at the board here, I want to point this out. I was listening to Greg Cosell earlier this morning. Okay. He's already starting to kind of talk about prospects. I think he's going to do his quarterback rankings next week. So we're starting to add the Greg Cosell bonus to the board now. And so far what we've got is David Bailey, 3-point bonus, Ruben Bain, 3-point bonus, Arvell Reese, he was raving over. Now he sees Arvell Reese. He thinks his greatest value will be as a pass rusher and not necessarily a stack backer. We've got him listed as a stack backer, but you'll notice the -V means he's versatile. Any player that you've got their position dash another, if it says V, it means they're versatile. If it says if it's a cornerback and it says CB-S, that means he's a cornerback / slot. If it says CB-V, it probably means he's a cornerback and a safety, potentially both there. So again, you've got Greg Cosell already getting his bonuses in here. So Arvell Reese climbed up a few spots. You see now him and Sonny Styles in the same tier. I think Sonny Styles got a 9.0 grade. And of course, Arvell Reese has a 9.6 low number wins. All right. And then of course, at the top of the list, you've now got David Bailey and Ruben Bain, who are at the top at 2.1 and 2.2 with Fernando Mendoza at 2.8. So now you've got 4 prospects that are in that 5 points or less, that top tier. And then once these cats get out there and they actually perform and get an RAS, they may potentially get another 5-point bonus, right? And now you're going to have your negative elite players in the draft, if that makes sense. So, it's going to be a lot of fun, man.
It starts to get interesting when we get Greg Cosell's input. It starts to shift things around. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's going to ramp up big time too, guys. Like over the next really 1 week from today, we'll start getting quarterback bonuses in. We'll start getting other positions will start to trickle in. You're going to see the board just come alive. We'll start to get RASs from the combine, and that'll start to shuffle things around. It's going to be a lot of fun, man, for sure. So that's just a quick glance at the board. Tim, is there anything else you want to talk about before we dive into the defensive tackle prospects, man? Anything at all you got?
No, not really. Let's get right to it, man. We got D tackle to talk about. I'm all ready for it, man. Let's go.
All right, let's do it. Let's waste no time. Let's get into the defensive tackle prospects. Again, our board's shuffling around a little bit, so we're going to talk about what's shuffling around the board, but also what we want to do here in this segment is give you some updated analytics. All right. There's other people across Twitter that are, posting different screen grabs and different charts and everything else. You can find this information that we threw together over at patreon.com/PackerFan Total Access. That's the best way to support what we do here at PTA. So NFL Draft Defensive Tackle Breakdown. Let's just take a look at the board real quick. And we've got it sorted by overall grade over on the far right, low number wins. And then what we've got are the prospects listed out, the defensive tackles. You can kind of see where we came up with these scores. All right. So at the top of the list for us as it sits right now is Caden McDonald. Okay. So we've got Caden McDonald at the top of the list with a 25.3. An easy way to look at our grade. And you guys, if you're not new here, you know already what I'm going to say. If you see that grade, think of the grade being that's around the pick that they're worth. Okay. Now it doesn't mean they're going to be like Caden McDonald with a 25.3. It doesn't mean he's going to be ranked 25th on our board, but it means somewhere around pick 25 is a good way of looking at that. Okay. And of course, when we do our horizontal board during our live draft coverage, you're going to see who the best prospects available are. And they're probably going to be sitting significantly higher than what their grade shows in some cases. And then as you get deeper into the draft, you get these guys that are graded out similarly, and there's going to be a bunch of clusters that you got to bust, right? So again, Caden McDonald at the top of the list at 25.3. Caleb Banks out of Florida, 28.6. So both those guys in the same tier for us as it sits right now. Peter Woods is interesting. Peter Woods is sitting there at 34.0. People probably think I don't like Peter Woods as a prospect. That is not the case, guys. I think Peter Woods has a chance to be a great football player. I just don't subscribe to these people that think he's a top 10 pick. And he may go in the top 10. I just don't see it personally. You got a guy who's gotten worse every year, according to PFF. 12th at his position, 26th, and 206. All right. And you can see the PFF big board has him at 9. The consensus big board has him at 12. DJ had him at 34. Dane Brugler had him at 33. We got a 34.0. So when you look at this across the board, Daniel Jeremiah and Dane Brugler agree with us, right? That we got that 34. Now their grades obviously factored in, but again, the PFF grade is what's kind of pulling him down a touch. And you got to go back a year. I'm not saying that Peter Woods won't be a great football player, but this idea that he's a top 10 talent, Tim, I just don't get it, man. Does that make sense? Like I'm looking for, if I'm spending a top 10 pick on a player, there's a couple of different boxes I want to check. I want to make sure he's got elite traits, and I think Peter Woods has a good chance of having elite traits. We'll find out soon enough. I also want to know that they're ascending as they're entering the league. He's doing the opposite. It looks like he's played worse football every year, Tim. Does that make sense?
Yeah, 72.5 according to PFF last season. I mean, he certainly fits the mold, though, right? I mean, 6'3", 310. I mean, he's that body type, barely 21, can't even have a daddy soda yet. So, I mean, there's certain upside to him, but I don't know about a top 10 pick at all on him.
And
what do you think?
This explains right here, Emilio, what we're talking about with defensive tackle. Like Kristen Miller's been my guy this year, and the reason being is because some people think he's going to fall outside of the first round. If he falls outside of the first round, boy, you're talking about a value pick at 35.8. At the same time, Peter Woods sitting at a 34.0. People are saying he might go in the top 10. I would rather wait on Kristen Miller if it were me. And if you're in the top 10 and you want to get someone of similar value, trade back and grab Kristen Miller. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, and I like Kristen Miller too, just because he's more of like an all-around kind of guy. You get a little bit more steady line average rather than, sort of the dips and raises there. But yeah, like Tim was saying with Woods, I think it kind of all falls back to where Greg Cosell always says everybody thinks they have a 3-tech and then nobody really has a 3-tech, right? So you're always kind of chasing that, kind of like a quarterback. It seems like they don't have their own quote unquote draft inside the draft like the QBs do, but I think they're probably the next in line. I feel like every year teams are looking for a D tackle. Every year, we got Tavondre Sweat. You got the big dude out of Florida that was like 350, right? And you're like, well, can he make it? But we're still going to draft him and give him a shot, because if he does, if he's 350, 400 pounds and he can make moves on the inside, we're cruising.
Yeah,
but you're always looking. So I don't know. I'm still kind of off on Peter Woods, especially any D line from Clemson too. They just got that. They got that history.
And I'll tell you, somebody who has crept up now with Kristen Miller in that ballpark is Lee Hunter out of Texas Tech. Lee Hunter is another player, very interesting. So in 2023, he was 155th graded at his position, and then he dropped to 218, and then last year jumped all the way to 38, right? The PFF big board had him at 53. Consensus big board had him at 48. He got a 5-point bonus because he dominated at the Senior Bowl. Okay. Daniel Jeremiah's got him as high as 26, but Dane Brugler's got him at 60. So Lee Hunter finishes with a 41.1, right there in the same ballpark as a Kristen Miller, one tier lower. So it's like when we get to 52, if Lee Hunter up on our board, any of those guys are available, run the card on the defensive tackle. I'm totally cool with it, right? That's what we're talking about. It's at that important of a position. Now, some people like Darrell Jackson. The Packers met with him, I think, at the East-West Shrine Bowl, 86.0, and Dominic Orange at a 90.0. Those are two guys. I like them as well, but maybe at 84, right? So
Corleone and Gil Howard as well. I do like those guys, just maybe later on in the draft if it doesn't fall right for you. If you're taking that, offensive interior in round 2, all right, cool. Who's going to still be available by round 3? I wouldn't mind either of those two.
Gil Howard is very fascinating, Tim, because we, obviously we're showing an injury in 2025, so we got to make sure that checks out. But he jumped from 180 to 24th at his position, and Tankathon had him all the way down at 142. So it's like, man, if he's hanging around late, we got a 123.8 grade on him. The consensus big board had him 184. The PFF big board had him 109. But this is what I wanted to show you here. When you slide down to this graphic right here, so what you've got, guys, on this graphic is pass rush win rate on the left running vertically, and at the bottom you got run stop rate. So essentially anybody in that upper right quadrant, it's saying they are a well-balanced football player in terms of run stop rate to pass rush win rate. Tim, Skylar Gil Howard is at the top of the freaking list. He's in that upper right quadrant along with Peter Woods. You've got Halton out of Oklahoma, and of course Lee Hunter up there as well. Any of those guys, according to this, you got Kristen Miller in close proximity too. But really, what this chart is showing is there's two defensive tackles, Tim, that, man, they can do both. They can play both the run and the pass, and that's Skylar Gil Howard and Peter Woods.
Absolutely, and Emilio brought up Corleone as well. Him and Howard are kind of towards that same crop for me, but I would lean towards Skylar Gil Howard. I mean, we only got 7 games out of him last season, but I mean, I believe he graded in the 80s, 88.6 according to PFF. 6'1", 290. We'll take him to Culver's. We'll get him some cheese curds. We'll put some pounds on him for that NFL body type that we're looking for. But you hit it on the head, man. That versatility. I think it's no secret that we need help against the run, and if we got a guy that can play the run and the pass effectively, I see no problem taking a shot on him in the draft for sure.
And out of Texas Tech, Tim, where their defense was really, eating it up this past year. You get that kind of that dog mentality coming out of there with those, and 2 of them up there, 2 of them in the upper right quadrant. There's got to be a reason for it, right?
Absolutely, that's where you want your dogs too, in the trenches, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Now, Halton is one I want to look at. Let's see if we can find Halton on our board. Where is he sitting at? So we've got him in the 120.6 grade, okay? He's gotten better. 24, he was 120th. He jumped all the way to 17th, okay? The PFF big board had him at 231. Consensus big board had him at 141. Tankathon had him at 114. So he finishes with a 120.6. That's one to look for, Emilio, maybe there.
Yeah.
What would that be?
He's sitting there. Maybe up 4th round, he'd be sitting at 134 on our board in total with everybody. So not too far off of where his grade is on the right there. But it's really anybody that you can kind of get production from, you're going to take a chance on. If you think you can make it happen, it's going to, they're going to pull the trigger on that.
And again, that's if the board falls in a way that it doesn't make sense to take a defensive tackle at 52. To me, that would, if all these guys get taken, right? If Caden McDonald, Caleb Banks, Peter Woods, Kristen Miller, and Lee Hunter are all off the board at 52, that makes the decision for us, and we can really press into the need of offensive line, right? Yeah. You can go offensive line or cornerback potentially. So now, if cornerbacks and offensive line go on a run, and somehow, some way, Peter Woods or Kristen Miller sitting there at 52, all right, you're taking the best player available, and that might be Devontae Wyatt's replacement next season if they don't extend him, being 28 years old, right? So just a number of ways to look at it. Let's look at some other details here. I love these heat maps. I think this is how you would describe this. So what you're looking for in these guys, it shows their alignment. We won't focus on that as much. We talked about that in the past. Let's go run defense. You got stop rate and missed tackle rate. Okay, so it's going to show you how well do they tackle, and how often do they make what we call a run stop, which is it's not necessarily negative yards. It's not a tackle for a loss, but it means a negative play in terms of EPA for the offense. And you were the guy that made the tackle, right? So run stop rate, we're going to go missed tackle rate. And then on the pass rush side, we're going to go pass rush win rate and pressure percentage. Okay. And what you're looking for is more green, less red. It's real simple. Emilio, there's two guys that jump off the actually three guys that jump off the map here to me. So those three are Lee Hunter, Kristen Miller, and Corleone. Okay. So now if we jump back up, Peter Woods, his run stop rate's 11.3%. That's great. Missed tackle rate, 13.5%. His pass rush win rate's 11.4%. That's great. But his pressure percentage is 7.1%. That's bad. So you got a little bit of green, a little bit of red. You jump down to Caleb Banks. According to this heat map, he was cheeks against the run, right? His stop rate was 3.2%. His missed tackle rate was 22%. However, dominant pass rusher, right? 10.6% win rate, 11.7% pressure rate. Now, that looks like Devontae Wyatt to me, right? Yeah. We've already got Caleb Banks at home, guys, right? So if you go on down, Caden McDonald, it's the opposite. Excellent run defender, horrible pass rusher, according to these metrics, right? Now, Lee Hunter, green, white. So there's no red across the board. You're talking about a stop rate of 10.7%, missed tackle rate of 7%, a pass rush win rate of 9.7%, and a pressure percentage of 8.2%. Okay. And it is worth mentioning that it looks like Lee Hunter lined up 72% of the time in the B gap. So he kind of played 3-tech more than he did shade or nose in that regard. Could be that they faced a lot of 11 personnel. But Kristen Miller, very similar. Light green, white. No red across the board, right? 8.2% stop rate, 8.1% missed tackle rate. Pass rush win rate was 10.4%. And then, of course, pressure percentage was 8%. And, of course, Corleone, white, green, light green. So you've got those three players, Lee Hunter, Kristen Miller, and Corleone. According to this chart, it looks like they might be the safer pick. What do y'all think about that?
Yeah, it's interesting to see Corleone coming in ahead of Big Citrus there. Darrell Jackson, Skylar Gill-Howard, we just talked about. It is interesting when you get to see this breakdown like this. I'm with Emilio though. I think Lee Hunter might be the guy you go snatch up if you have to. Depending on how free agency shapes up for us. I think Lee Hunter's a guy we may have to go up and get. We may have to make a move in the draft to grab him because I see a lot of these names going relatively soon.
Yeah, I think you're spot on, Tim. And obviously, you're going to look at the draft and go, all right, give me anything green. So you're looking at Halton, you're looking at Gil Howard, and like Clay said, Hunter and Cam, Christian Miller there is the only one, maybe Corleone. But you're wanting something that's going to give you across the board, right? Because if we're just going to get a D tackle that's going to play the run stop, just bring back TJ Slayton. Right. It's not like we need to, we're not going to go out. I feel like you're always going to try to draft somebody that can bring you a little bit of pass rush. So maybe you kind of X-nay a couple of the guys with the red on the right columns, and then you sort of narrow it down. And that's where I feel like, okay, Goody's got, their top 50, right? We're going to get them in the first 3 rounds. If anybody there on the red there, anywhere from Bever down on the bottom right there, take them off the board, right? I feel like they won't even be looking at them. Like, I want to narrow it down to 5 potential D tackles that we could take. If they're off the board, all right, they're off the board, but we got to keep moving. You got other options. We got to do other things. And I feel like that's how they get to, narrowing it down so much and getting their top 50 3 rounds in.
Yeah. I like what Brambo's saying here in the chat, looking at Grayson Halton.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like, talk about value there. I mean, where is he on our board again? Because he's 130 on PFF.
Holland is 134 on the board in total with the 120.6 grade.
You say late round Jim, baby.
Yeah, that might be someone to keep an eye on, right?
And let's say that Skylar Gill-Howard and Halton are there when you pick later in the draft. Okay, looking at this heat map, you go, okay, we feel good about both of them. Well, let's go back up. Skylar Gill-Howard, or actually down. Skylar Gill-Howard and Halton, where are they at? Skylar Gill-Howard wins the tiebreaker here. That would be your cluster buster, right? If you're going off of the pass rush win rate and run stop rate, right? So it doesn't mean that Skylar Gill-Howard is significantly better than Halton, but you got them in the same ballpark. So you're starting to – I'm a redneck. You guys know I live down here in Tennessee, man. I own way more firearms than I should probably ever own, right? So we're always at the range. We're always sighting in rifles. And this is what we're talking about. It's like, okay, when you're sighting in a rifle, you're making adjustments on the fly. You're trying to get as close as you can, right, to the bullseye. And as you get closer, you're making slight adjustments. Okay, well, what about this? Well, what about that? Okay, you're factoring everything in, especially if you're taking a 300-yard shot. You're starting to factor in the wind a little, everything. You take all of these analytics and throw them into the pot. And what ends up happening at the end of the day is you end up with 2 or 3 guys where you go, man, those are the slam dunk safest picks. Now, listen, it doesn't mean they're going to be great football players. Nobody knows. The draft it's such a crapshoot. This isn't going, oh my God, these idiots, why would they not take him? This is so easy. There's things that they like about individual players. It might be traits. It might be physical attributes. It might be FBI. But when you look at it as a whole, you want to really narrow this thing down to where you can truly get into, okay, who's going to be the safest pick for you? And when people hear safe, they think, oh, that's not the right mentality. You need a killer instinct mentality. Not in the draft. You better have all of your I's dotted and your T's crossed. When you get on the clock and it's time to pick, you got to feel convicted that that is our dude right here. Same thing applies with cornerback and everything in between. So,
and like Emilio said, be ready to move on. You know, if you've got your targets set and those guys are off the board, you got to go best available. You've got to be able to move.
Yeah, Tim, I could see them just taking a picture of that top right quadrant right there. Saying, give me those 8, and then we're going to move on to edge rushers and linebackers, and we're going to keep on moving.
Yep.
Absolutely.
I agree.
Now, Peter Woods, big conversation point, right? I think people think that I don't like Peter Woods as a prospect. It's not that.
I heard it. I actually heard Clay say that word for word. It was just.
So when you look at Peter Woods and where he has been, the percentage of where he's being mocked at, okay? So this is where he'll probably be drafted. So there's 100% chance that he will be available up to the 7th pick. Okay, at the 8th pick, it drops to 98%. And then let's fast forward all the way down to pick 15. It's now dropped to 84%. When you get to pick 24, it's down to 41%. So again, the fact that it's like, hey, there's a 16% chance that he'll be taken in the first 15 picks. I can't get on board with that with Peter Woods. There's just prospects that are better than that, right? So again, Peter Woods at 52, run the card, right? Trading up for Peter Woods, let's say to the 40 mark, if you feel really convicted that he's the guy, I can make a case for that according to our board. But when we look at these other analytics, like this lines up, pass rush win rate with run stop rate. Yeah, that says it's worth the pick. However, when you go to the heat map, where's Peter Woods? You got a little bit of pink there. Missed tackle percentage, got to work on that. And his pressure percentage was down, although his pass rush win rate was through the roof. So these are the things you got to take into consideration when you're potentially making those draft picks. So that's a quick breakdown of the defensive tackle position. If you guys are watching this video back later, let me know in the comments, how do you feel about the prospects we just broke down? Is there one you like above the other? Maybe give us your top 3. That would be a fascinating conversation in the comments. Let us know your top 3 defensive tackles in this year's draft. Hit us up in the comments with that. Make sure you hit like, subscribe, click the bell icon so you catch all the live streams in the future. All right, we got a super chat here. Let me hit here from Solder before we get into the next segment. Solder says, the morning shows are great, but damn it, I have meetings to attend. People need to start to understand that. I have Packer content to consume. Listen, man, flush that job. You don't need that. I'm just joking. Don't do that. Don't do that. I want to get more consistent. And I know Soder's joking here, but I want to get more consistent when we go live. My schedule's about to ramp up, so you won't have to worry about the morning shows anymore, Soder. Other than Monday, if everything works out, your boy has stepped away and is fading back business a little bit to where we can go live still on Mondays and Fridays at any point during the day. So I basically just got a 3-day work week. And then we'll dive into obviously the night show every night anyway, like we used to, somewhere around 6 p.m. Central, something like that.
Tim, 3-day work week, 13-hour days, Tuesday through Thursday. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
You get them to 40 hours, no problem.
Yeah. Easy.
Yeah, it's going to get interesting, and your boy ain't getting younger, man. I'm going to be 44 years old in September. The knees are going. It's not my chair. I can hear my mom and my brother.
Not my problem. That's what I say.
I'm going to need a chair. I can hear my mom and my brother. They both passed away now. I remember them saying, now listen, they worked their ass off their whole life, right? And then as they got older, they were pulling me to the side going, hey, don't work yourself to death. Trust me, it's not worth it. Just slow down a little bit. Don't get I watch y'all break your back to provide for me my whole life. I can't. How am I going to go out like that?
Mhm.
Yeah. Hit 42, and I went, oh, that's what they were talking about.
Clayton hit 42, and he was like,
My knee.
That's real talk. And looking over and seeing Calais Campbell, 40 years old, and he's going to be playing in the league. And I'm like, how is he doing this?
Mhm.
How is he doing this? So, anyway, appreciate you, Soda. You're the man. All right. Yeah, Brambo says, preach, Clayton. Ouch. Yeah, it sucks getting old, dude. Sucks. All right, so let's move on to cornerback. I don't have as many analytics for them, okay, but I tried to pull a couple of things together. Let's have a similar conversation when it comes to the cornerback position. And who's the guy that you guys would want to take, right? Who is the pick that you would want the Packers to select here at the cornerback position? Obviously, on the screen grab, you got D'Angelo Pons and you've got Chris Johnson. Guys, D'Angelo Pons is going to break my heart. If he is somehow, some way there at 52 and we pass on him, it's gonna destroy me. And it's all going to be because of the size, right? It's going to be because of his height. That's all it's going to be, height and weight. So when you look at our board and how everything lines up, here is the order in which the cornerbacks rate. You've got Mansour Delane out of LSU with a 9.0, Jermod McCoy, cornerback out of Tennessee, at a 14.1. Emilio, you're seeing right off the bat, these are two guys that are above everyone else, right? With Delane kind of in his own tier, right?
Yep, Delane would be in that first horizontal column all by himself. Jermon would actually be all by himself as well in the horizontal board. So it's going to look pretty empty when you're going left to right across that horizontal board in that far right cornerback column there. That's not ideal.
Yeah. And then Avian Terrell at 23.3, Colton Hood at 36.1, and then you've got Chris Johnson down here at actually I got that mixed up. He's a 36.1. It was Colton Hood. It's hard to see on the screen.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. 36.1 for Chris Johnson. Now you're going Clayton. You mean Chris Johnson's going to be there at 52? He has been for us several times, but understand his draft stock is really starting to soar. He got a 5-point bonus at the Senior Bowl. He dominated. Dane Brugler had him at 38. Tankathon had him at 45. The only thing giving me hope is Daniel Jeremiah did not have him in his top 50. So maybe that holds him out a little bit. Because since his big board had him at 46, PFF big board had him at 43. PFF grade, he's gotten good. He's gotten better every year. He's an ascending player. He was the second highest graded cornerback this year. Now, if you go down one more, D'Angelo Pons, 12th, 28th, 6th last year, 40.4 grade. All right. The PFF big board had him at 58. They're saying he should be there for the Packers at 52. Consensus big board had him at 62. He should be there for the Packers at 52. Tankathon said 48. Dane Brugler said 40. So when you really break this down, I think Colton Hood will be long gone. There's an outside chance Chris Johnson and or D'Angelo Pons will be on the board when we pick here, Tim. I know everybody's going to say no way can you draft D'Angelo Pons because Goody will never go for the height. But if Chris Johnson's gone and Pons is sitting there, I'm running the card. This dude, he's such a fascinating prospect, Tim. Look at the green here, the heat map here for the cornerbacks. And when you notice D'Angelo Pons, look at him down here, all the way down, right? So when you go man coverage versus zone coverage, green in man coverage, right? And then you've got green in zone coverage. When you jump back up to Chris Johnson, you've got green, red, green with man coverage. And then you've got red, white, green in zone coverage. So if you just looked at that, you remove the names, you remove the height, Tim, D'Angelo Pons is the better cornerback according to this heat map right here.
Yeah, and that's what we do, right? We're drafting football players, not body types, not feelings.
We would. I don't know if Goody's going to.
Exactly. My money's on Chris Johnson, right? That's that.
Right.
He's in that wheelhouse, right? 6 feet, 195, something like that. Graded out, I believe, in the 90s according to PFF last season. Both two of my favorite corners, though, honestly, in this draft class. I feel like we're good either way. If we can grab one of these guys, we're going to be a better football team, I think, in the secondary. That being said, yeah, I'm with you 100%. If for some reason D'Angelo Pons is on the board in the second round, we gotta run that card. But me personally, I despite looking at this chart, and you see some inconsistencies with Johnson, I do think Chris Johnson's probably my first or second favorite corner in this draft class.
There you go. Solder says here in the chat, longest body with the best RAS will be the cornerback pick. Emilio, we've seen it time and time again, right? And of course, Brambo said, hell with it, redact the names. That seems to be a theme in today's society. Don't redact the names, but we'll leave that alone there. Emilio,
Yeah,
what do you
and
think?
Goody's over here like,
I'm not going to, so quit asking.
What do you think about this, Emilio?
Redact the age while you're at it too, right?
Yes.
But he's a grown-ass man now. And
Scott coming in at 25 years old, it's like, yeah, I don't know, man. You might get a little pass on that. But I'm with you, Tim. I love Chris Johnson there early. But I do think the meat and potatoes, like TJ's been saying, it's probably third, fourth round. You might still be able to get a steal. Malik Muhammad, Chandler Rivers, somebody like that down there, just a little bit lower. Igbinosun, I would take it. He's got a little bit of red there, but a guy that plays at Ohio State knows he didn't play great this year, but played really well the year before, I believe. So he, let me just double check. I think he has that skill that we could use. He played well this year. The year prior, he had a 65.9, so not great, but a guy that knows how to handle the big time, big school, all that. Really kind of anybody from Igbinosun down to, Moore, wouldn't be probably terrible later on in the draft. Again, that's all how it falls. Round 2, round 3, we already talked about D tackles. Who are you going to take? You only get one pick, and it's going to be a long time for us to go. What do we pick 52? So yeah, we've got a while to wait. I mean, that board is going to be, we're going to fall asleep and then open the draft again before technically we pick if we don't trade, right? Yep. So you've got a lot of movement that's going to happen and a lot of players off the board.
That backs up your point from earlier. All the more reason that you've got to have your targets and your guys, and you have to be willing to adapt and know who the next guy is going to be, because we're going to have plenty of time to sit here and watch names fly off the board for sure.
Yeah, definitely. So again, if you were to remove all the names or redact them, like Brambo said, you would hands down go, okay, whoever this guy is out of Indiana, he's the dude, right? Like that's what the map shows. It is. Now, when you look at some of the other guys, who comes in second here that would be in our range? Who would we like the most here that has less red, right? So let's just see. Let's just kind of glance. Let's go from Chris Johnson down, because I feel comfortable saying from there down, we got a realistic shot of having somebody, right? I mean, who grabs your attention? Maybe Muhammad, right?
Yeah.
Malik, yeah, I like Malik, definitely.
Yep, and I think the Packers, let me double check, didn't they meet with him, Emilio? I think they met with him already too, which makes sense. So,
I do. I believe they did.
Yeah, I'll check it real quick. Let me see here. Malik Muhammad. Yep, they met with him. They met with him at the Senior Bowl. So,
and coming out of Texas, who did he go against last year? Or I'm sorry, the year prior? He went up against Isaiah Bond. He went up against Matthew Golden. You get a guy that knows how to handle speed, all that.
That's a great.
He's in that sweet spot again, right? 6 feet, 185 or something like that.
Yeah, and
we all know he's got a type, right?
And we've got him in the 119 spot on our board. Okay, so now Dane Brugler had him at 90. Tankathon had him at 67. So they're suggesting he's going to be gone a lot sooner. So you're probably wondering, why is he so low on your board? The PFF grades were bad. Like, maybe not bad, but not as good as others. 121 at his position in 23. Then he fell to 298. Then he fell all the way to 346. So it's like, if you were to, let's say Malik Muhammad stacks up in every other category with, D'Angelo Pons, right? And you're trying to compare the two. And if that was our cluster buster, hands down, Malik Muhammad would not be the pick because of the PFF grades. But again, that's why we've got so many factors into our board. Does that make sense, Emilio? That makes me a little nervous that you got a guy who's gotten worse every year, according to PFF. That would kind of lend a little bit of credence to the fact that he'll probably drop farther than like Dane Brugler sees him at 90.
Yeah, you're talking Malik, right?
Yeah, Malik Muhammad.
Yeah. Did he have an injury at all? Because I see we only got 11 games out of him. Did he miss some time last year?
We'll have to look that up, Tim, because I'm not sure. But I do see what you're saying, though, there, Clay. It's he went from 121st, 298, 347. So he was falling. I said maybe the thing that's holding him up is that with their WAR rankings, I mean, out there when he's on the field, he's still benefiting the team, though his grades aren't great. Maybe they're looking at him a little more. Maybe they're throwing at him a little bit more. We'll see. But again, another guy from a big school, things like that, you're not going to get anybody in the top 5, I wouldn't think. So you're looking Chris Johnson down. and you're probably going to call it before Everett, before you get yourself into a little bit too much red. So you're really looking from Chris Johnson to Moore. And then, Marshall down there not looking too bad. But again, you're coming from NC State. What's the competition like? And that was the other thing when DJ was saying, he was like, all right, so if you're watching tape on players that could be D2, whatever, D3, or anything like that, don't even look them up. Don't know who the player is. If you're watching the tape and they pop off the tape at you, okay, that's an NFL prospect. So like when you're watching tape, maybe you don't look at just, the person you're looking at first. Okay, who's that guy that's really showing out there? Who's that guy really locking stuff down? Then you go back and look it up, and that really, comes into play when we talk about the arm length and, the range and stuff like that. Like if you were to say Pons, right? Okay, I'm watching Indiana. Okay, this corner, he's tearing it up. And then you look at the measurables after the fact, you're not going to negatively, ding the guy because you've already seen that he's able to play without having that preconceived notion of, all right, he's 5'8", 160, no way he can play, doesn't have the size, all that stuff.
Right. And Brambo in the chat says, what about Moore? All right, so he's talking about the kid out of Florida. Yeah, Devin Moore. This is interesting.
200 pounds, monster.
Lord have mercy. Goody's slobbering right now, dude. You kidding me?
Whoa.
Look at the PFF grades. In 2024, 271st at his position, and then he jumps all the way to 43. So he's ascending coming into the league. He didn't have a 23 ranking according to this. The PFF Big Board had him at 339 early. However, the consensus Big Board has him at 75. Tankathon said 95. Dane Brugler said 73. He lands with a 106.8 grade for us in the 113 spot. If he's there at 120, run the card. And when you look at the heat map, like Brambo says here, with Moore, the only thing that's really in the red is the passer rating when targeted. Now, it's bad, 125.0. However, when you look at his yards per snap at 0.69, probably gave up a lot of touchdowns. Is probably what you got there, right? Would be my guess. So, and his forced, I think his forced incompletion interception percentage is at 25%. So a quarter of the time, he's either forcing the incompletion or picking the ball off. Okay. Now, when you go to the zone side, that was man coverage. If you go to the zone side, it's green across the board, right? Yards per snap, 0.80. His FI to interception is 23.9%. And then you've got the passer rating when targeted, 61.2. So he struggled in man coverage with that 125 passer rating when targeted, but was dominant in zone coverage. That might be why he's probably going to hang around in the draft a little bit. You have a shot at getting him there late. Man, that's wild what Tim said there, Emilio. 6'3".
Yeah, he's a monster. He's played the most football he's ever played, though, last year. I mean, you had 8 games in 23, 7 in 24. He played 11 games last year. Also a guy that can play in the box and the slot on occasion as well.
There you go. So, yeah, Brambo, good pull there, buddy. Good pull. There was one more at the bottom of the list I wanted to hit. Davis down here out of Washington. Is that Tacario Davis? Am I thinking right? Is that his name? Tacario. Yeah, Tacario Davis. So we've got him in the 260 spot on our board. He's got a 193.7 grade, which would say he's worthy of the 193rd pick, essentially. Tankathon had him at 140. The reason he's so low on our board, he was 40th at his position in 2023. He dropped all the way to 735 in 24 and then climbed back up to 480 in 25. So the PFF grades were bad in terms of ranking at his respective position. The consensus Big Board had him at 109. The PFF Big Board had him at 153. Like I said, Tankathon at 140. So Tacario Davis on this chart here is
another
showing
big dog, 6'4", 200.
There you go. Green in man coverage, then pink, green in zone coverage. So you're seeing that's a little more stable than some of these higher rated prospects here. Emilio, what do you think about Tacario Davis, man? Tim, you said 6'4"?
PFF's got him at 6'4", 200 on the nose.
So
only played 7 games last year too. So check injury on him too.
Definitely want to keep our ear to the streets on Tacario Davis at the combine, right, Emilio, and see what he actually measures out at. He may check out at 6'4". It may be 6'2". We know PFF's been off on that stuff in the past a little bit. So
absolutely, yeah. Looking at it, played outside pretty much his whole career. Can go a little versatile, man. He's got a couple lined up at D line, but his passer rating when targeted. This past year, 50.6. The year before, 85.8. The year before that, 23, 76.9. He's got a run defense grade this past year of 81.8. So he's not afraid to stick his nose in there. I would be I wouldn't be opposed to that, right? Take a runner on him, especially with his size, speed. And if you can get him later on in the draft, like we've been talking, it seems like corner you might be able to get away with a little bit later on in the draft. I'd be all for it.
Yeah. All right. So that's going to do it for cornerbacks. If you guys are watching this video back later, let us know in the comments. How do you feel about the cornerback position going into this year's draft? Would you rather them spend 52? Would you rather them go 84? Would you rather them go 120? Where do you want the Packers to take their cornerback at in this year's draft? Make sure you hit like, subscribe, click the bell icon for us. We would greatly, greatly appreciate that. All right, boys, let's shift gears here now and talk a little bit of offensive line. Seth Ruder getting us kicked off. Says, thoughts on Tom to center because of the knee, ? Elton was looking great at left tackle after Bach before the ACL. That would really shift free agency and the draft approach. That's a great question. I wasn't as sold at Elton Jenkins at left tackle. That's just me personally. I feel like he played way better at left guard. When I seen that and I watched the tape, Seth, now I'm not saying I'm right and you're wrong or anyone else. You guys may see him as a dominant left tackle. I didn't see him as that. I seen him as he was a left guard, and I had all the faith in the world that he was going to be able to play center. And again, him not being able to play center, I don't think that he's not cut from the cloth to play center. I think we've seen the decline every single year, and that's at the guard position. We've seen his play decline, right, since 2021 where he graded out in the 80s. So with Elton, for me personally, I think his best football is behind him. The question is, what can you bring him back at, right? So if we kind of reverse engineer this super chat here from Seth Ruder, guys, first of all, what do we think about Zach Tom playing center? Because if you move him to center, you now have a hole at right tackle, right? Mm-hmm. Now, do you trust Anthony Belton to play right tackle? I don't know. It seems like he's more of a guard than a tackle, me personally. And obviously he played left tackle in college, and now you're asking him to play the right side in general. What do y'all think about Tom to center? Let's start off with that.
I don't know.
The silence is deafening.
Yeah.
Emilio's thinking about Travis Glover moving to center.
Jeez, we're talking about all these musical chairs, man. I don't know if it's worth it. I think I'd rather keep Tom over there. You got your front side protected for J Love. Figure out what you're doing on blind side protection with Jordan Morgan, and draft and fill the interior. I mean, wait, let's stop. Let's set something, man. Let's at least make the triangle, get your two edges, and get a center, and then we can go from there.
That's how I always build the offensive line, Tim. I always think get your two tackles established in your center, and the last thing you approach is guard. It seems like Goody looked at it the opposite last year and went and spent a bunch of money at guard, and then we kind of expected Elton to just shift over to center and make it work, right?
Tyler Linderbaum or bust in free agency. Let's go. I think that's going to tell us how this is going to look. Let's say we don't make that move, or we're in a bidding war and we're not able to get Linderbaum. I think, I don't think Seth is off base here thinking that maybe that's on the table. The idea that you'd move Zach Tom to center. We've had that conversation. We know this guy can play anywhere on that offensive line. But let's, devil's advocate, let's say we do. Let's say Zach Tom is your starting center coming off a knee injury, by the way, that he's currently rehabbing. Moving to the center position, what do you do at right tackle? And now you're shifting your focus, whether that's draft or free agency, on position of need. So I'm with Emilio. I think I'd rather keep Big Zach at right tackle and build out that interior as we go forward.
Yeah. And when you look at Zach Tom to center, dude, I'm totally on board with it. I'm okay with it if you can find another Zach Tom to play right tackle. The problem is those guys don't grow on trees, right? So let's say in the draft, one of these tackles fell to you. Let's say it's a Blake Miller, and I don't know where they lined up. We'd have to do a little more research, but let's say it's Blake Miller, or let's say Jennings Dunker is projected as a tackle. I think many people are saying guard now. What if Max Ihanakor is there at 52, right? If you can land one of these top guys here, somewhere between, like Caleb Tiernan, Max Ihanakor, Jennings Dunker, or Blake Miller, even throw Lomu in there. I know, and again, some of these guys might be projected as a guard. We'll get that information as we get closer to the draft. But if you get one of those guys falling to you, Emilio, and you plug them in at right tackle and you go, damn, that's Zach Tom. That's how Zach Tom looked when he was a rookie, right? I feel way more comfortable moving Zach Tom to center if Jordan Morgan is the guy at left tackle. So think about that. Let's explore that for a second. You've got Jordan Morgan playing left tackle, where I think he's played his best ball in limited snaps. We'll see how it shakes out. You got Zach Tom at center, and let's say you get Max Ihanakor to play right tackle, or let's say you get, Jennings Dunker to play right tackle, or Caleb Miller to play, or Blake Miller to play right tackle. If that works out, you've got your starting right tackle on a cheap contract. You've got Zach Tom, arguably your best offensive lineman. He's finally going to fix the center position, right? Because we know he can dominate at center. And then, of course, Jordan Morgan at left tackle. I don't hate that. Now, again, that's assuming, as Seth says here with the Super Chat, I'm all for Linderbaum, just worry about Tom's knee, right? If you go get Linderbaum at center, all bets are off, right? That's an option. But if Goody don't want to spend that money and the market's going to be hot for Linderbaum, I would be okay with Tom at center and a rookie at right tackle if we feel really, really good about him being the guy,
I think that's what we'd have to look at, right? Who do you think of these prospects can come in year one and be effective as a right tackle, starting right tackle quality?
Yeah, but if you're worried about the knee, the other thing is like, okay, yeah, he's touching the ball every time, snapping it, but what happens on a dive? What happens on a QB sneak? What happens on all these things where he's going to be falling onto as an interior lineman a lot more than an edge right tackle. He's got his kick step and everything, but he's going to be any kind of interior run he could be falling on, and it's freak. You saw what happened to Ellen. You want to get through 18 games like that?
Yeah, it's tough, man. So when you look at the board here at the offensive tackle position, and again, some of these may end up being guards, okay? Spencer Fano, 9.9. Francis Mawaga is 10.9 out of Miami. Caden Proctor, 20.8. You got Monroe Freeling at 30.6. Caleb Lomu at 36.8. Then Blake Miller at 39.6. So if Lomu or Blake Miller somehow, some way fall to 52, run the card. I'm on board with it, right? Both of those guys check out. Jennings Dunker at 52. We've got a 51.3 grade on him. Dane Brugler says no, he's 84th. Tankathon said no, he's 44th. Consensus Big Board said he's 34, and the PFF Big Board said he's 44. Now, he's checked out consistently with the PFF grades. 143rd at the position, then he jumped all the way to 8th, fell back to 17th, still a solid grade. When you look at the PFF grade rankings, Jennings Dunker is the most consistent guy there, with the exception of Blake Miller, who's an ascending player. 82nd, 78, 27. So if you just go strictly ascension coming into the league, Blake Miller will be the better prospect. Jennings Dunker, however, has played at a higher level more consistently. He just took a slight step back this year. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Now,
Dunker's one of those guys I'm hoping might fall, as we get closer.
Now, Maxi Hanakor, Emilio, 586, jumped to 177, jumped to 63. The PFF Big Board had him at 118. The Consensus Big Board had him at 71. Daniel Jeremiah says 41st.
Yeah. No, DJ likes him a lot.
Dane Brugler, 44, right there with him. And then, of course, it's worth mentioning, man, he dominated the Senior Bowl. Maxi Hanakor, he was blocking guys to the point where they were getting frustrated, and then they took a punch at him. He just slapped he slapped the poopy out of him. He literally just backed up, slapped him, and looked at him like, who do you think you are? Maxi Hanakor, he checks all the boxes for me. He really does, man.
Yeah. He absolutely and strictly a right tackle. I mean, strictly. It's like you brought over Jordan Morgan to play the right side. I mean, Hanakor has only played right tackle, 320, 920, 850. So, again, you draft him, then you're going to go, all right, here's our new left tackle, move him all across to the other side. And then it's like, let's not do that. Let's find somebody that maybe is going to stay at that position, then we bring them in. That's why I'm more on like Freednong or Dunker or somebody like that. Bring in a guard, bring in somebody that's solid inside and keep them inside. But again, I guess the talk will start happening here once we get the measurables for their arms, if we're over 33 inches or not, and then we can go from there.
So since you mentioned that, I went ahead and updated the board and put right tackle in the middle of Maxi Hanakor. Okay, so we kind of know that's where he played the majority of his snaps. We need to get that stuff updated here soon. Yep. Of course, Jennings Dunker is offensive tackle /V because people were saying he's going to play guard. What do you think about that, Tim? What if you got Maxi Hanakor at 52 to play right tackle and you move Tom to center? You think that makes sense, man?
I mean, it's not the worst approach, right? I'm just leaning towards Big Zach staying where he is. I would rather fill out that interior either in free agency or the draft. But, if you are going to move Zach Tom, I mean, that's a pretty good option, right?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. So again, and I understand, Seth. Thank you for the super chat, man. I understand the worry about Tom's knee. I think he'll be fine. I think he'll play. I think he'll come back better than he ever has been. I think that's something that's been nagging him, and they were trying to work him back. I wish they'd have just went ahead and gotten it done early.
He had that oblique issue too. You know, he had a couple other nagging injuries as well. You know.
Yeah, definitely. J. Cole says, if we keep Banks, he needs to play better. Amen, 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 and amen. I hope they move on from Banks. I've kind of seen enough. I know there's some people going, well, he was hurt. He wasn't hurt the entire year. And he wasn't hurt in San Francisco. And in San Francisco, you don't watch the San Francisco tape and go, that dude's a top guard in the game. You just don't. Do you think he's bad? No. But we overpaid for good. We didn't overpay for great, right? And again, it's not even a position of tier 1 importance. It's not even tier 2, Emilio. So it's like you spent a bunch of money on that at left guard with the understanding that, okay, well, Elton Jenkins is going to be an upgrade at center, and that didn't work either. So it really swung and missed on 3 different aspects of the offensive line, not just 2. You swung and missed on Aaron Banks. Granted, it's just 1 year. You swung and missed on Anthony Belton. Again, he may end up being great. Right now, he is not great. I don't care what anybody says. There's nobody that can watch the tape and go, oh, look, this dude's a great football player. He's not at this moment, but he's a rookie. He was 120th on our board. We reached like hell to go get him. So that was a swing and a miss. And then Elton Jenkins moving to center, I was all on board with. I thought it was going to work out better. It did not work out. Duty was wrong, and I was wrong. So what do you think?
You do that, you're going to get your ass kicked in that.
I mean, word for word, man. That's it. It's you gotta. I feel like we're to the point of, okay, we've tried the versatile thing. Pick somebody. That's why I'm so on Pregnon. If he falls, give me him. He's played left guard his whole career. Drop in place, and he knows he can pass block. He can run block. He was in a spread offense in Oregon. I would be all for that. The more we look at it, the more I'm seeing interior line round 2. Round 3 and 4, D line and corner, and we'll kind of go from there.
Yeah. And Emilio talking about Pregnon here, Tim. So we've got him with a 46.8 grade. Dane Brugler says 79. Tinkathon says high as 36. The consensus big board said 32. PFF big board said 42. You got a guy who's gotten better every year. In 2023, he was 187th at his position. He took a slight step back at 189, so he didn't get better every year. But then last year, he jumped all the way to second best at his position. That's a guy to really keep an eye on. At 52, if you draft him and you just plug and play him at left guard, I'm okay with that. Move on from Aaron Banks, get Pregnon at 52, and throw him in there at left guard. I'd be totally fine.
320.
Yeah.
That's exactly what Goody was talking about, size and speed-wise.
There you go.
Yeah, 100% on board with that. 86.7 grade last year, according to PFF. Pure interior guy. Played a little bit of right guard, but mostly left guard.
Yeah, and doesn't have his age, Tim, but it was a redshirt senior. So you have a little bit more experience, a guy that's been doing it a little bit longer.
Yep, maybe increase the likelihood of him, coming to the league and fitting right in and developing pretty nicely.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
definitely. Not so cool. Last one here says, are we willing to pay $25 million for Linderbaum in bidding wars? Oh, if you're asking me if I'm willing to, there's got to be a walk away price, right, guys? I'm willing to pay 20. I think it's that important. But when you start talking the 25 range, I'm too drunk to taste that chicken. That's a lot of money, guys. That's a lot of money. And again, it's not a tier 1 position. It's important. I'm willing to pay $25 million if Linderbaum was a left tackle. You go, okay, that's worth it. That's that tier 1 position. But to pay that kind of money for a tier 2 position at center, it's important. You guys know I talk about it all the time. But man, $25 million. I would rather go get Connor McGovern at $12 million and then have that extra $8 million to play with, and then maybe potentially draft one of these young guys. Because Connor Lew is the best center in the draft according to our board of the 58.3. The problem is he's coming back from that ACL. Jake Slaughter, a 68.6, not really worthy of the 52nd pick, although I would be okay with them taking him there. You want to get him maybe closer to 84. Chase Pasantis at guard, a 73.4, but stick in the center. Brian Parker switched from left tackle to center in the draft process. The Packers have already met with him. 82.4 on him. I'd be okay with Brian Parker to come in and compete at center at pick 84. That'd be fine too. We talked about Pat Coogan with an 84.8 at the 82 spot. I'd be okay with that as well. Both of those guys have gotten better every year. You're talking about, let's back up to Jake Slaughter. 9th, 6th, and 8th at his position. He has just been as steady as anyone, according to PFF, at the center position throughout all throughout college. Brian Parker out of Duke, who played tackle, I think he played right tackle, if I remember correctly, too. 122, 43, 6. That's an ascending player. Pat Coogan, 159, 43, 12th. That's an ascending player. You've got this kind of narrowed down to 3 centers that you really like: Jake Slaughter, Brian Parker, and Pat Coogan. I'd be on board with all of them.
Sam Heck.
Yeah, you're big on Sam Heck. He's lower on our board. Let's talk about why. Why is he lower on our board?
The issue with Sam Heck is, man, I feel bad for him, right? Because this is where our board kind of locks people in just a little bit, and that's look at his numbers. We got him for 24. He had a 91. He was 8th. Is that 8th or 9th in 2025? And then six. I'm sorry. What's holding him back is his PFF grades, where we've got him. I mean, he's in the 200. He's in the 298 for PFF big board, consensus big board of a 234. He already got a -5 because he performed well. Tankathon had him on 121. Listening to DJ, he was the first one mentioned for I think the pre-draft call in. I think it was the Lions guy called in and said, "What are we going to do about our offensive line? You know, who do you like at centers?" Sam Heck was the first one mentioned. When I pull up centers now in PFF big board.
70, bro. 70.
Yep. Sam Heck is 68th right now on PFS big board.
That's crazy. I'm showing 70th right now. Let me refresh. If it moved while we were live, I'm gonna laugh so hard, man. I'm still showing 70th here.
Okay.
That's on the big board. They've got him 70th ranked.
Okay, yeah. So 68th, 70th. So let me just do this real quick. If I were to move him off of 298 to 70th, like Clay said, that would bring him into the 108 spot. That would put him right next to Logan Jones, center out of Iowa.
I'm going to pull that board up here so we can do it in real time. Are you okay if I sort it by grade? I'm going to sort it by grade. All right, and we're going to show you guys what we're talking about here. If you'll take it back, undo it, and then show everybody how he jumps here on our board.
Yep.
All right, so we're looking for Sam Heck, right?
Yes, sir. 117. So he was 298. So right now he would be sitting at 134. And then when I put in the 70, that would bring him down to 108.8, and that would slot him in right here at the 116, 117, right before Logan Jones. Mm-hmm. Would you be mad at a third round pull for Sam Heck, Kansas State center? I don't know I don't think I would be upset about that.
It's a great point. And he checked out at the All-Star game, right? At the Senior Bowl. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's tough, man. And again, I'm always open.
We've done it before. We have definitely done it before where we've adjusted it.
Yep. So what we're talking about, guys, and I want input. You guys let me know in the Patreon group how you feel about it. I'm a big fan of get the numbers in early with these big boards. That way all this postseason hype doesn't throw the board in flux. So we can keep it at where we've got it. What was the number again?
298.
298. So we had him at 298. Or we can jump him all the way up to 70th on the PFF big board. Now, if you do that, it's like, well, don't we got to do that with the consensus big board as well? Let's see where he's moved on the consensus big board. I'm going to look that up real quick.
Yeah, because if he's sitting there, I mean, he's sitting 180-ish. You know, he's deep on the board if you don't give him that. The only reason that and this is kind of where you think about it, is the only reason that I would want to change that is because of how well DJ spoke about him. We're not the ones scouting him, right? This whole board is us gathering information and putting it together. If Greg Cosell says he likes him as the best center, if DJ says, hey, he's the first center that's going to be going off in round 2, he's, there's not a first round center, fine. That's where I would be like, okay, maybe the PFF big board, they were so far off at the beginning. Let's take this middle number here before, March, before the draft actually gets going, maybe right after the combine, see what happens. But that would be the only thing where you'd be like willing to change it, just because the actual scouts of our quote unquote board are telling us different numbers.
Who in the hell is Mel Kiper in a way?
He's not on the board, Tim. Don't worry.
You will never find Mel Kiper as a factor on our board. I promise you. Sam Heck, 234 on the consensus big board, right? Guess where he's at now?
Oh boy.
92.
Really?
So if you were to change that.
Let me just see. You're now you got me interested. Okay. So we've got Sam Heck. So he's at 298. Let me put in the 70. And then you said, what was it? 92?
92.
Wow.
Oh my God.
Resort that, Clay, for me real quick.
86 is the new grade for Sam Heck if we did that, right? And everything changes. Now, all of a sudden, Sam Heck is the 92nd best prospect on your board. He is essentially at an 86.0. He's one tier below Pat Coogan, right below Pat Coogan.
He would be in the same horizontal tier if you're looking at it. We do the tiers of 10, 80, and 90.
It's tough. I feel like the honest way to do this is to split the difference. I feel like what if we split the difference? So let's do this. If it was 70 for PFF now and 92 for consensus, what was it before for PFF?
298.
And what was it for consensus?
234.
234. So if we were to split the difference, 298 to 70, right? What will we put him at? And I want to get your take. I'm cool with changing it right now if you guys are. I feel like something needs to happen, though.
Yeah, I think so too.
298 and 70, all right? That would put that at 184. What do you think about PFF? We go 184, okay? And then the 234 plus the 92 divided by 2 would be 163 for the consensus big board.
That would drop him, let's see, right around 113. I don't think that's terrible. That puts him that puts him right there around 125-ish, a little bit after right around Malik Muhammad, before Alar. He'd probably be the fourth center still. But yeah, I think that's fair for him.
Why don't we roll with that? Okay. Is there any way that we can mark that though? Let's mark it with a color on the consensus and the PFF big board. When we change stuff, we know, hey, just keep in mind we did make a change. What if we made that box yellow on both those? Is that cool?
I like it.
Let's do that. So we know, Tim, moving forward, you got to remind us you're the smart one in the group. Me and Emilio are a couple freaking idiots here. Okay? So when we move forward, looking at the board, if we see yellow in the PFF big board or consensus big board, that means we made an adjustment because that guy has shifted significantly. That makes sense.
Got it.
All right. Good deal. We feel good about it, Tim? Or Emilio, what do you think?
I like it. Yeah, no, and I'm glad we did it on air because I was going to ask you after air anyway. So what should we do about Sam Heck? Because like I said, I've been staying on the table for him just because the scouts are telling us, to believe. And because DJ talked about him, but even before Slaughter, like he was all about Sam Heck. He thinks that he's going to go round 2-ish. So I just wanted to give him a fair shot on the board. That was all.
No, I got it, man. I got it. Let's see if we can find. So we got a prospect here. Janice in the chat. Good to see you, Janice.
Yes.
Thank you for bringing through.
Yes.
Said, hope to see Matt Golban. I guess is that Michigan State? Or is that Mississippi State? You think
Michigan State?
Michigan State.
370 on the PFF board, but a pure interior guy. A lot of center reps, a lot of guard reps.
So you said 370, right?
Yep.
Let's throw him in here real quick.
Graded out at an 82.6 last year. This could be, 5th, 6th round gem depending on where he lands.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's throw him in here. We're going to highlight it blue because he's a center, right? Is that right, Tim, what you're showing?
Yeah, he's listed as a center now, but in 23 and 24, he played some left guard and some right guard as well. But all 727 snaps were at center last year.
And so here's how we need to make a decision here. On the consensus big board, he's currently sitting in the 178 spot. At the end of the college football season, he was at 125. So let's do the 178, okay? Let's because he dipped all the way down to 382 and then jumped back up to 164. So let's go with the current one of 178. That's kind of in the middle there. So we'll go 178 for that. And then we'll run down the grades and all that stuff here soon enough. So we'll add them to the board here in real time. Yeah.
So 54, 45, and 2.
He could be a guy, man.
Highest graded center.
5th or 6th round.
I haven't gotten to the centers yet. We're still running through the consensus and stuff. But
Lord have mercy. That changes Janice, great freaking.
Yeah, great grab right there,
Janice.
That's incredible. I can't believe we might have missed a gem. Janice caught it.
What range does that put him in now? I'm trying to see here. So, now he's in the 149 spot for us with a 129.8 grade. Emilio, that's a heck of a find.
Here's a guy.
Absolutely.
All right. And again, the consensus big board, it wasn't just like, okay, what's the buzz right now? We kind of troubleshot it, right? At the end of the football season, he was actually higher than he is now. He sank out of sight, came back up. So I feel like that's
and that's where our board saves him because, hey, we're taking into account the 54 he had, the 45, and the 2. If it's just the 2, all right, that's going to win him. The 24 is going to help bring it down, and the 23 is going to help bring it down. So those numbers being lower are only going to benefit him. If it's a bad number, if it's 350, all right, we're just going to kick that number out of there. Anything that's going to help him bring it down. And then there's some stuff behind the cells that are doing some more dividing and stuff that are going to get us the best average to move forward with a number to get him, the best chance.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. If you guys are watching this video back later, let us know in the comments. How do you feel about offensive line? The time got away from us there. Hit us up in the chat, in the comments. Let us know, how do you feel about the offensive line and the shakeup that we talked about? How do you feel about Zach Tom moving to center? What do you think about these prospects? Let us know in the YouTube comments. Hit that like button for us. Hit subscribe. Click the bell icon. We would greatly appreciate it. All right. So that was a fun conversation there. We'll just kind of wrap it up with the chat here for another 10 minutes, if that's cool with you guys. Chester Marco says Golden sounds like a steal. It's going to be interesting to see where he goes because, again, Tim, PFF's got him at 370, right?
So, yeah, that's insane. So they're clearly low on him.
Yeah.
But, yeah, shout out to Janice. Janice for GM. Assistant GM to Goody. Good grab right there.
So hold up. Let me look here a minute. Let's resort this because I'm not showing him at all on my PFF big board. Right. 369 is what I'm showing here. You're right, Tim. So right around that same mark, we'll just call it 370. So this is what bothers me about PFF. Okay. So they've got him as the 369th best prospect. However, their grades suggest that he was the 54th highest graded center in 23. He jumped to 45th, and then he was the second highest graded center in all of college football last year at a 82.6. How can you have him so far down on your list? And maybe it's a size factor, right? He's 6'4", 312. Like,
oh, wow.
What are we best guy around.
Put up the numbers here in the PFF. So in 23, he actually played 600 snaps at right guard, 100 at right tackle. He gave up 15 hurries that year. Then the 24, he played 110 at center, 700 at left guard, gave up 15 hurries. And then this past year where he played 730 at center, gave up 2 hurries, a hit, and 2 sacks. So it looks like he feels a little bit more comfortable inside, not having to worry about going, left, right, or one side only. I think that you kind of see where his best spot is there.
Yeah, maybe he found a groove at center,
Yep.
Running a quick little AI report on injury history. No major injury reported in college. Scouting and draft top profiles such as Player Profile list him with no reported injury history. It says through his time at Wake Forest from 21 to 24 and into his 25 season at Michigan State, there are no widely published reports of missed games due to injury until very late in the 25 season. It says one minor note from 25. According to the official 2025 Michigan State bio, he missed a regular season finale versus Maryland due to an injury, suggesting he did sustain something late in the season. However, details on the nature of the severity of that injury aren't broadly referenced in any other public injury database or scouting reports. So basically the summary is it checks out. Now, that's a name to keep an eye on at the combine, right, guys? To see what he benches, to see how he moves, and let's see how his medicals check out. So we'll make sure.
Top 2 games for him was against Boston College, 82-3, Indiana, 81-5. So
got it. That's good info. Again, Janus, thank you so much. That was a great pull there. That was absolutely awesome. So, all right, let's see here. Who else we got? J. Cole says, Clayton, these are Uber drivers we're talking about. That's a great point. A little shade there to PFF.
Heard it from a fan right here.
To have the resources and to take the time that they put into this stuff, you would think they would at least have a meeting once a week and go, hey, guys, let's make sure we're not making an idiot out of ourselves here. And let's make sure that the grades somewhat line up with the rankings. It's just like the articles that are written. I don't read any of their articles because their articles go totally against their stats and their grades. It's like, it just makes no sense. So I'm with you, Jay. I try to give a little bit of grace there because I'm a moron myself. But, man, some of this stuff is just like, it does not make sense at all. It doesn't. Again, I mean, we showed you how he landed in the 149 spot on our board now. and they've got him listed. They're basically saying, how many draft picks are there every year, guys? Do we know? What is it like?
252, something like
So
that.
they're saying that when the draft is over, there's over 150 prospects that are still ahead of him that were undraftable. That's essentially what PFF's big board's saying, right? Just crazy. Wow. So we'll see if the fact.
Thank you. That's exactly what we needed.
We'll see how all that stuff kind of falls into place as we get a little bit closer here. Obviously, and kickers. I want to point this out too. We did some stuff with kickers. This is exciting. Do you care if I sort by position, Emilio?
You can go for it.
All right. So I want to explain what this means. Okay. When we go to kickers now, people go to, you want to draft a kicker? I didn't say that. Get that out of my mouth. All right. When you go to kickers, this is what we've got. So for the grades for 25 and 24, that is where they ranked in terms of field goal percentage. Okay. And I tried to do enough research to get that right. So essentially what you've got is your overall grade. Some of them are on the consensus big board. Some of them are not. If they weren't on the big board, I just threw a 700 in there just to let us know, okay, they weren't on there, but it did give us a number. All right. So the top kicker, according to grade, is Trey Smack. Now, he was really good at the East-West Shrine Bowl. He got a lot of buzz there. However, he was 49th in field goal percentage in 2025. He was 27th in 2024. So if you go strictly off of field goal percentage, the best kicker in this draft would be Lath Margin out of Kansas. And again, double check and make sure he's going to be in there. He's got a 236.7 grade because he wasn't on the consensus big board. He wasn't on the PFF big board, but he had the second best field goal percentage out of Kansas. And then, of course, you had the 8th best field goal percentage in 2024. To me, am I wrong there, Emilio? Like, I see field goal percentage as the most important statistic. Like, I want to know how many kicks you make. I could care less about, the potential growth, the potential ceiling for this play. What does that even mean? What has he shown you? That he's got a stronger leg? Okay, cool. That's great. If they're hitting from 50, they got enough leg for me at the NFL level. I'm not planning on my kicker having to hit from 55 yards. We know when we line up for a 55-yard kick, we're not going, oh, this is a slam dunk. But, man, let's make sure we make those kicks between 40 and 50. Does that make sense?
Yep. No, absolutely. And while we're here adding to it, Clay, Trey Smack is on the PFF big board, 441, so we'll clear up that missing column.
Boom.
And that brings him back to reality. Will Farron, so they all kind of drop back down to around the 200. Looks like Will now would be the best graded player. But again, you're looking at the PFF kick and 79th accuracy. I don't know, man. But that's how you got to take into account. I like that we're adding a little bit more there to it with, not just their PFF grade or whatever they want to do. Okay, accuracy-wise, how are you kicking? Wider hashes, dip field goal post, all that stuff. So.
Yeah, that's a great point. J. Cole, again, with the Uber driver comment. Thank you so much, sir. Appreciate you. It's weird that Lath Margin is not on the PFF big board.
There's only 4 kickers on PFF's big board right now.
Yeah, it's really strange. And again, it's not to say that he should be drafted, but why not just take a second?
But they're doing better because I remember last year they were sitting at like 300 players for the longest time. Now they at least have 400 plus on there, so you're getting a lot more from PFF this year, which is good. But again, still early, still in February. All these numbers are going to change. They're going to keep adding people to it. Yep.
I'm going to check something here too real quick. Just make sure. I checked it the other day, and I'm pretty sure all these guys that we got a grade on, I made sure they were draft eligible. Let's see here. Did he declare for the draft? Just to make sure here. Let me take a look. Declare for the draft. And this is Lath. I hope I'm saying that name right. Lath Margin. Yeah. It says, as of the most recent, Lath Margin has not officially declared for the draft yet. Okay, so maybe that's why. He received an invitation to the Combine, meaning he's on the radar for the draft consideration. Being invited to the Combine is a strong sign that a player positioned himself for the draft, but it doesn't by itself mean he's formally declared. So there's nothing that says he declared. He is draft eligible, but nothing saying he did declare. So that might be why he's not on the board here. So,
yep.
I could see a college, if he has any college eligibility left, and I don't know if he does or not. But if he does, I could see a college going, hey man, we'll pay you $1 million flat if you just want to come in here and kick for us and pretend like you're going to school. You know what I mean? That could potentially happen. So not a bad gig at all. But All right, so that's it, guys. That's all we got. We went a little bit over there at the end. Tim, I told Tim we are going to go 40 minutes. Emilio jumped in here and threw everything out of whack.
All right.
Anything else you want to hit on, Tim, before we wrap up, man?
No, just Trey Smack was definitely the guy I had my eye on early on out of Florida. And I think, the Shrine Bowl performance probably got him on that PFF board because he wasn't there for a while. But I'm with you, Clayton. When it comes to kicking, I want accuracy. You got to have a big leg nowadays to kick in the NFL. I mean, if you can't hit from beyond 50, it's kind of tough to get a contract. But I'd rather have a guy that's consistent and have an offense, which I believe we do have, that's not going to put you in a situation where you need to kick 50, 55 plus yard field goals all day long. So I think that's the one thing with Smack that you got to keep an eye on is the accuracy. Certainly has the leg. We saw him hit, I think it was 55 yarder in the Shrine Bowl. So keep an eye on him going forward.
Yeah, like Nick Folk last year, if I remember correctly, he's been one of the most accurate kickers in the NFL in the last 5 to 10 years is Nick Folk, but he doesn't have a strong leg. And it's like, how many times do you actually need it?
Right. Yeah.
Like, because if you miss a kick, a 55-yarder, you're giving the other team such good field position, right? They're going to start basically at midfield at the 45-yard line. So it's like, do you really want to risk that there? However, you get a little bit closer if you got a kicker that has less leg, but he's going to hit. And most of the time, those guys that have less of a leg, they have a quicker process too. Like they can in real time adjust if they feel pressure and get that kickoff kind of short legged and still get it through the upright. I think that's an important tool to have too. Yeah,
absolutely.
And at the same time, we need a placement and accuracy kind of guy for kickoffs at this point. You're wanting to put it in the corner. You're wanting to squib it. You're wanting to, try to get a little hot potato action. So how accurate are you going to be on kickoffs as well? Because like Rich always said, sorry, I'm bringing him up. Rich always said, it's a different swinging mechanic rather than, you can't go out there and just be like, all right, we want our punter to kick off every time. Punter's going up and vertical each time. Kickers are swinging down and through. So it's like you're asking him to do something completely different. Yeah, he can do it, obviously, but you're going to want somebody that's going to be accurate at moving forward on kickoffs as well.
Yeah, especially with the new rules, right?
Yep.
Like, we've seen this. The kickoff is a different ball game. It's not about just blasting that ball down the field. You got to be able to fine tune it.
Gone are the days of just putting it through the end zone. Those days are gone for sure. So
did you see the UFL is going to be giving them 4 points for field goals farther than 60 yards?
Are they really?
Yeah, they're trying some of that new stuff. I think one of them was like, if you're past the 50, you're not allowed to punt on fourth as long as except inside of 2 minutes, and then 60-yard field goals plus are worth 4 points.
I love stuff like that for that type of league. I love it. It changes things up. Please keep it away from my NFL and my college football. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I did see that. I think they went ahead and banned the tush push, right?
Yeah, as well. Yep.
I love that. I love the fact that because I grew up when I was growing up watching football. This is Papal Bailey here. Pull up a stump. Let me talk to you. When I was growing up watching football, you weren't allowed to assist a runner like that, right?
Yep.
Like it was a big no-no. That's why the Bush push, right? The Reggie Bush touchdown was a big controversy against Notre Dame, and obviously. One of the greatest moments in Packer history, the Ice Bowl quarterback sneak. Everybody thinks that not Dom Merritt. What am I talking about?
Donnie Anderson.
Was it? No, it wasn't Donnie Anderson. It was Chuck Mercine.
Oh, yeah, that's right, Chuck. Yep.
Chuck Mercine. They think he was signaling touchdown, but actually he was expecting to get the ball. Bart Starr didn't tell him, "Hey, I'm going to sneak it." They were just running basically an A-gap wedge play, and ball snapped. He kept it. He went with a full head of steam on that ice at the Ice Bowl, thinking he's getting the ball. And couldn't pull up. So rather than just running into Bart and getting a penalty and basically negating the touchdown, he throws his hands up like, I ain't helping. I ain't touching him. I ain't touching him. I'm just kind of falling here, They thought he was signaling touchdown, obviously. But that's actually it right there, matter of fact. Right there, that picture right there.
Love it.
Boom. All right. That's it, guys. Appreciate everybody jumping in here. This was fun, man. This was a pleasant surprise having both of y'all in here to talk ball, man. It's always a blast to get in here and do this. So let's all go tune into the Combine and any details, any news that may break. We will go live immediately for that news. So make sure you hit like, subscribe, click the bell icon so you catch all of those streams when we do have breaking news. Everybody have a great, as Chuck says here, hump day. Let's just call it Rashid.
Not the Rashid. Yeah.
Let's call it Rashid Walker Day. All right. Everybody have a great Rashid Walker Day, all right? And Chuck, this is the way I like to look at. Let's go kick today's ass. Amen, Chuck. Let's go make that money, come home, have a daddy soda, and pet the dog. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
One of those kind of days. So appreciate everybody. Hit that like button for us. Also, do us a big favor. Wherever you listen to podcasts, search for Packer Fan Total Access. You'll find this over there in podcast form. Everybody have a great day. My name's Clayton. That's Emilio. That's Tim. This is PTA. Go Pack, go.
Here we go.
We're out. Bye, guys.